The Master Grade Delta Plus. Today we're going to be asking the question and answering definitively, does it hold up? This is a kit that I have talked about before. I built this kit before I was doing anything on YouTube. I have fond memories of it. I love this kit. I think that it looks great, but it doesn't necessarily have a very good reputation online as I've seen kind of over the years. It seems like a lot of people don't really consider it a very good kit and find it to be quite problematic. I don't remember having any issues with this, so I thought it'd be interesting to go ahead, build it again, and see, now 12 years after its initial release in 2011, how well does it hold up? Is it really that bad as you might hear some people say it is, or is that hate all just kind of a little bit overblown? I think it's probably going to be the latter, but we'll find out in today's episode. Let's go. So we'll start off taking a look at the box and its contents, but if you guys would just want to skip straight to the review, you can do that in the time code down below the video there. But some really cool artwork here on the front of the Delta Plus. It's such a cool design. I love the very utilitarian color scheme of it and everything. You can see the Unicorn Gundam there in the background and a Gerazulu there in the foreground getting some beam saber action. This is a pretty thin box out from the time when Bandai was kind of sticking for these master grades with the thin and large size box. We saw a lot of these at the time. On the one side, we can see one of the most awesome features about this is its Wave Rider mode. This is actually one of the very few mobile suits where I actually almost prefer it in Wave Rider mode. Anyway, I do really enjoy the Wave Rider mode here for the Delta Plus, but in mobile suit mode, it's also looking very cool. There you can see a couple of action shots, and then here just kind of a focus on the transformation. So again, we'll see how well that works out on the actual kit, but here's some details about the transformation here, about the frame, the joints and everything. One of the things I think is what kind of most people point to when they talk about why this kit is not good is the frame, and that I guess it's probably due to the transformation, but again, we'll see. Here's the front and rear view of the kit when it's all built and painted. We got some figures included of Riddy and Minerva there, so that's really cool. The cockpit, the beam saber, the beam rifle for its weapons, the shield, and some more detail images right there. Popping the top, this is of course not going to come with any waterside decals, but I believe it does come with some dry transfers, so yeah, it looks like it. We'll take a closer look at those in just a moment. Taking a look here at the instruction manual, we have the box art on the front. On the back side, some more large reference photos of the kit, front and back, in mobile suit form and in Wave Rider form. On the inside here, we got a whole bunch of information about the story, the mobile suit history here. It's all unfortunately ill in Japanese. This is before the time when they started putting more English in the manuals, but really cool history there, all about the mobile suit itself. All kind of stuff though, if you're interested, you can find all this probably on the wiki page for the mobile suit, but here's some more about the different mechanisms, the Wave Rider form, and the kind of parts and spec, where it just kind of tells you what each part of the mobile suit is. The next page is going to be our parts list, and then after that into the construction. So it is going to be the type of manual where it shows you for each section which runners are used for that particular section, which is nice. That's kind of convenient, I find. Skipping ahead then to the middle section, the fold out pages. Here we have more information, more photos and everything, more stuff in color, which is nice. Bunch more information there about the transformation, the MG predecessors of the Zeta 1.0, the Zeta Plus C1, and the Zeta 2.0. All of these Master Grade kits I have fairly recently reviewed because I wanted to review them before the Zeta Verka came out, so you can check out the reviews of all of those. Over here we've got the painting guide. That's all in Japanese, but you can translate that easy enough for the paint colors for this, the figure painting guide there for our two figures, and of course our 1-point step of adding some panel lining to help define some of the details around on the kit. Skipping ahead further then in the manual, after we finish the backpack and weapons, then it goes over the transformation there for us. And at the very end, we have our decal and marking guide, so where all the stickers and markings and everything are going to go around on the kit is right there. As for the stickers we have included, we've got some foil stickers there for the eyes and a couple of cameras, pretty minimal there for that. And then, like I said, we've got some dry transfer decals for some of the larger markings and some caution markings and stuff here. Looks like those are mostly all in white. There, those are cool. And then we've got just our regular sticker decals here with some Londo Bell, EFSF logos on there, some number options for you, and mostly in white again, but there's a little bit of yellow and black and some blue up there. Getting into our runners then, we've got some polycaps here in gray. This is actually runner K from the Master Grade Zeta Gundam version 2.0, so these same polycaps from that kit. Then runner SB1 in clear blue is going to be our beam saber effect parts. Runner A is a nice big 4-color runner here, some gray up at the top, some kind of medium darker blue here, some white, and then a couple of clear parts up over there. And then runners B, C, D, and E are going to be all of our armor parts, which is going to be in this nice kind of medium blue color here, kind of lighter medium blue. Here's runner B. Runner C is going to have some more parts for the backpack, as well as our pilot figures on there. Runner D we have 2 of, and runner E we have 2 of as well, for some more parts for probably mostly the arms, legs, and a backpack. Up next then, runners F and G are going to be in gray for some parts of the inner frame, which are in ABS plastic, and I feel like that's probably going to be one area where this kit may have trouble just due to the fact that the inner frame is going to be all in ABS plastic. It's not ideal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the kit is going to be bad, so we'll see. Runner H is back to regular polystyrene here just for a second for some rifle parts. This is a runner actually shared between this kit and the Master Grade Rizal. It's in a little bit different color gray from the inner frame, a little bit more kind of bluish gray. Really cool beam rifle design though. And then the last of our runners here, runners I and J, we have 2 of each, and this is more gray ABS parts there for the inner frame, and that's going to be it. So let's get it all put together. Okay, so here is what the kit looks like when it's all built up, and it's pretty much exactly what I had expected. Now, it's got issues, yes, I will admit that, and we will see that over the course of the review. We'll talk some more about some of the issues that this kit does have. It's certainly not perfect by any means. That said, I think it does still look great, and it is going to take a little bit of work to really get it to look as great as it can, but I think it's a really good looking design, a really good looking mold. It's not like super detailed, so if that's what you're looking for in a Master Grade kit, this is not necessarily that, but I think it's got a pretty standard amount of detail for any other kit, kind of like this, from that era of UC Master Grades that we were getting out at the time of 2011. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at its accessories and then get into talking some more about the kit itself and what are some of like the different pros and cons and just how bad is it really. Let's go. And see, we don't have a lot of accessories with this, and although it is a little bit uneven, that's going to be one of the issues we're going to talk about. It is able to stand on its own with a little bit of finagling to it. That said, we do of course have an action base stand here. Now this is going to be the same action base connector that you're going to use for both when it's in mobile suit form and in Wave Rider form. So that's why it kind of clips in like this up underneath the hip section. I'm anticipating this to work pretty well, but we'll see how that works in practice once we get to trying out some posing. We do also have a couple of like parts forming pieces that we're going to use for when we do the transformation into Wave Rider form. We're going to use these to kind of just like connect everything together. Then we've got our teeny tiny 1/100 scale pilot figures here of standing Riddy and Minerva here. So those are really nice. Nice to have 2 characters in there. And then of course we've got a seated Riddy figure, which is inside the cockpit. While we're here on the subject, the cockpit hatch does open up, and then our seated pilot figure is right inside there like that. We got our beam rifle, which is pretty straightforward. I like the color separation of that white part there at the top. The handle does fold in for when it's transformed, that can connect onto the mobile suit. This kind of ammo here at the back is able to pop out if you want to pop that out for some reason. Otherwise, some nice detail in and around on this. There is going to be some seam line action on it, of course, but otherwise it looks really nice. There's also a little clear part that goes in here for the camera, kind of like on the back side of the rifle right here. Or I guess it would be sort of like a lens piece. I've left that part out for the time being, and there is no sticker for that either, so it would probably be a good idea to paint on the underside of that part before you pop the clear piece in, and then maybe also paint the clear piece in like a clear orange or clear blue, whatever you want to do. And then we've got our shield, which also looks great. It'll look really good once you put some decals on there, of course, but even here on the underside, the separation of these parts, the beam saber handles are stored in right here. It can be kind of tricky to pull out of there, but one really easy trick is you can just use your beam saber effect part and just pop that into there, and then you can pull the handle out really easily. And for using this on the mobile suit, it's just going to plug straight right here onto the back of the elbow essentially. I always prefer shields that connect onto the side of the arm than on the back, but that's just how it works with this particular mobile suit, and it stays on there good and well enough. Now let's take a look at some of the closer details here of the kit. Now we have a clear part for the visor and 2 options for the sticker to place underneath that clear part. I went for the option that does have the eyes. There you can also use this other sticker option here, which is just a mirror chrome finish there, which will give you just more of a visor look without having eyes in there. You can do that. The clear part for the head cameras, which goes to the front and back head camera, which is going to be kind of harder to see just because of the design there, but there is a clear part in there. I went ahead and put the stickers on there just to show you how it's going to look with the stickers. Otherwise it's just a plain clear part, which is nice because you could paint it in whatever color that you want, in like a clear red, a clear blue, clear green, whatever. So that's nice. Otherwise you can just use the stickers if you want. But nice separation of the parts here at the head with some very nice detail up at the top, and you have that gray part of the inner frame of the head poking out for the Vulcans and the vent there on the side of the face, so that looks really nice. Now getting into the articulation and the kit itself, here's where people are going to be running into issues with this kit, and there's a couple of things. Most notably is of course going to be the feet. So let's start off there with those. So the main issue that I think the feet cause when you want to have the kit in a standing pose is the way that the weight is distributed, in that you have the weight that comes down, like in normal standing pose, the weight should come down straight from the leg into about the center of the foot so that you have a good amount of balance. The problem is it comes down primarily on the back of the foot part, and the front of the foot is just kind of there, and it doesn't really do anything to help you balance at all. It even just kind of can be a hindrance just because of the way that it moves. It slides for the transformation, and there should be like a lock mechanism for it. Also, the placement of the ball joint for the connector to the lower leg just should be designed in a way, or I don't know exactly, I mean, just depending on how accurate they need to make the design, should have been designed in a way so that there's some more weight evenly distributed throughout the foot, and that it's not all just resting on the ankle, because that's what makes it difficult to stand up. The actual ankle joint itself is not really an issue. It's like plenty tight. It's not like it's loose or something. It's just that the way the weight comes down onto the foot. That said, if you're going to be putting the kit up onto an action base, you don't have to worry about that issue. The only issue that you might run into there is the fact that the hips, the legs are just connected via the hip joint is just a ball and socket joint. And so that means you are going to be a little bit limited into how wide you can spread the legs out like this. And then you're also seeing the legs can go out that wide, and then they're also not going to stay that wide. They are going to fall down just under their own weight. And so you're really only going to ever be able to get the legs to about that wide without doing anything to either at least modify or stiffen that ball and socket joint up there at the top a little bit there. The other issue is just the fact that it doesn't have any ab crunch. Now, with the legs kind of being as they are, you could kind of counteract that a little bit by having it doing kind of a little bit of a lean sort of action, but then the fact that you have no ab crunch with this, it's just because it transforms, so there's really no kind of way around that. It's really difficult to have like an ab crunch movement in a transforming master grade kit like this, so that's completely understandable, but it does make posing it, especially in a standing pose, a little bit more tricky just because you're not able to bend that. The rest of the articulation is pretty standard. Like, you have a shoulder joint which will move to the front like that. The upward movement of the arm though is going to be a bit limited, as you really can't bring it up too much more than this much, it feels like. Then just a rotation there at the bicep, the double joint at the elbow. Aside from just the ball joint at the wrist, you do also have a hinge at the wrist, which is nice. The way that the hands are separated is the thumb is on a single ball joint, the first finger is on a single ball joint, and every other finger has its own ball joint, but the second, third, and fourth fingers are molded together. If you wanted to move them individually, all you have to do is just cut them apart, and you can have each finger on its own individual movement. The front skirt's kind of interesting, as like the whole front skirt is on a little ball joint, and then this separate part like off to the side here is also kind of on a separate ball joint there. The side skirts are very interesting in that they're kind of clipped onto the hip joints, sort of kind of between the leg and the center hip section. And so those will kind of move around. You can move those up and down out of the way, so those really won't be too much of an issue. And the back skirt as well can also move up and down a little bit, and some nice color separation here, nice details around with that. The legs, of course, due to the transformation, will have a lot of movement in them, probably more than you would ever really need for it just to be in mobile suit form, but you can bend the knee, get a really nice knee bend there with separation of that knee armor. All the details and color separation here on the leg looks really nice. Bending the ankle moves that working piston there at the front of the shin, which is really nice. So a lot of really cool movement here, more movement which is also just built in there just for the transformation. And I think on that note, why don't we actually just go ahead and get the kit transformed. We'll take a look at the transformation, and I'll give you guys some of just kind of my final thoughts on this kit. All right, so here it is transformed, and the transformation does take a little while. There are quite a few different steps where you have to kind of very intricately move things around, but eventually you can get it into position, and I got it pretty close. I think there's a couple of spots where I actually maybe don't have it exactly quite right, but I think it looks great. This is one of the ones that I feel like looks so good in Wave Rider form, one of the best looking transformed mobile suits, so it's fantastic. That said, I feel like if you really wanted to have the Delta Plus in Wave Rider form, the HG would also make a really good option. It is parts forming, but I think it looks really nice, and it's probably a little bit more solid. than this, as that's going to be the main thing that this is going to have. The kit is going to have some stability issues, and so I understand why people have their complaints and their concerns about this kit. That said, I feel like for the most part, it's really not that bad of a kit. Sure, when you're trying out different poses just to get it standing on the ground, the balance issues can be a little bit tricky to kind of work around, but eventually you can get it into a good pose. And while the easy way to get around that would be to throw it up on an action base, the action base connector does work quite well, by the way. Even up on an action base, then you are going to have issues where the feet, the ankles aren't going to be a problem. I'm finding more so the issue with it on an action base is just so the weight of the legs. So the legs are kind of heavy, and just the ball and socket hip joint connections just are not strong enough to just keep up the weight of the legs, so you have them just sagging down a lot of times in your different poses. So you can pose the kit around that, and you can kind of work around that and still get some good poses with it. Otherwise, if you really wanted to fix that, it would be a very easy fix to do. You just need to tighten, either just use glue or paint or whatever you want to do to just make that hip ball joint connection just a little bit tighter, and it should be able to hold up the weight just fine. And you still are going to be a little bit limited in the range of movement there of the hips just because it's a ball and socket joint. But again, I think it's something that you can work around, and with very little extra work to just kind of tighten some joints maybe here and there, you can still pull off lots of really cool poses with this. So overall, I get where people have their issues with this kit, although I think we can say that this myth is pretty busted and that it's not the best master grade around, but it's certainly not a bad kit by any means. And at the end of the day, it's a good looking kit. I think it's a really great looking mold. The design, the proportions of it, in my opinion, I think look really good. But you guys can let me know what you think about it down in the comment section below. What do you think about the overall look of this kit and about how it kind of holds up now being only 12 years old? It's really not that old of a kit. So for anyone hoping that we might get like a 2.0 or something of this kit at any point in the future, I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think if you want a Master Grade Delta Plus, this is the only one we're ever going to get, so you're just going to have to get it and work with it, and I think you'll be fine. It's really not that bad at all. But if you guys want to check out the kit for yourself and more Master Grade Gunpla, you can check the link in the video description to USA Gundam store right down there below the video. Got all sorts of different Master Grade model kits and more Gunpla for there for you guys to check out. So for now, guys, thank you all so much for checking out this video here today. I hope that was helpful and informative for y'all. Thank you all so much for all your support, liking the video, commenting, subscribing, all helps out a lot. So thank you guys all so much. Until next time, I hope you guys all have a great day. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.